When night came and we tucked our exhausted children into tents, and the older ones babysat or some adults who did not want to go with us on our rendezvous, we headed for the Dewdrop Inn. Those times were a story all their own. One year a few fellows decided to put one of the other fellows' Volkswagen on the front porch of the dance hall, so no one could go in or come out. And how was the guy going to get it back on the ground to drive it home? Then there was the time when my dear husband asked the bartender if he could light a firecracker under our table to scare a friend. What he didn't say was that it was a cherry bomb. The year we danced all night and we had a little red convertible, we finally got back to the campground, but Art refused to get out of the car and come into the tent, so I just let him sleep there, top down and all. I did cover him with a blanket. People wondered how I could let him stay out in the cold. The highlight of every Hamfest for Art was when he and Jeff Woodhouse, W7FL, would woo Clarence Silloway away from his wife for a few hours. They would come down the road singing and having a merry old time. One year, Art and Jeff were out on the lake in a motorboat and they kept buzzing the shore, so the poor forest ranger was drowned out of his talk every time they came by. In 1958, the officers for the 1959 were nominated and elected. They were Francis Stenzel, W7YLZ President, Harold Colvin, K7AXD Vice President, and Tom Newcomb, W7YLC Secretary-Treasurer. 1959 was the silver anniversary, the 25th year of the Hamfest. That year they gave Art Jacques, W7BOZ, a silver cigarette box in honor of founding the Hamfest. In 1968, it was again held in Canada and then back down to the United States at APGAR in 1969 and 1970. In 1970, there were 238 registered. In 1971, it was again held in Canada. 1986 was the last time the Hamfest was held in Canada at Homestead Campground, Waterton Lakes. Now the Hamfests are much more sedate, with much more to do, are more organized, and much more sensible. But most of all, after talking to all these people on the airwaves for so many years, now coming together for an eyeball QSO makes the bonding of friendships even more important. And the expectation of seeing them each year at the Hamfest is exactly what makes this organization so important and so great. After all, what would life be if we couldn't enjoy our friends? Through these 60 years, there are so few charter members left, or we are too old to exert the energy that you people are so enthusiastically showing. I know that you are going to carry on this wonderful tradition for the next 60 years. Art was so proud of the honor you bestowed on him. From the time he was only 10 years old, radio was his whole life, and he never ceased to be amazed that the voice could travel over the airwaves. When Sputnik was first orbited into space, he recorded that sound and was so excited that he was able to hear and record it. When the astronauts were over Montana, and again, radio hams could talk to them in outer space, Art was fascinated. When Art was so sick that he couldn't get out and about, it was his ham radio and all of you wonderful people that talked to him every day that kept him in touch with the world. He was interested in everything right up to the end. For that, I have all you people to thank. You were always so good to him. Sincerely, Anne Jocks, XYL, Mrs. W7BOZ,